And over to you, Laura.
Perfect. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it. Yeah, and I want to kind of know where everyone is from because we've got sort of, crazy time zones. So in the chat, let me know where you're joining us from. And I'm calling in, I guess, joining from Copenhagen. I want to start quickly. I love to start with a stat. So this is a stat. It's 95%, and it has something to do with AI. And so does anyone want to guess in the chat what this 95% has to do with? It's maybe about a month or two old report I see, hey, Emma from Copenhagen. I'm also looking at the chat to see if anyone has an idea what this 95% could relate to in relation to AI. And if I don't have a guess, M dashes, 95%. Yes, Judith, M dashes. That should be accuracy, I also see. I love the M dashes. That made me laugh. Thank you. Um, it is 95% of generative AI pilots at companies are failing. Now, I bring that up not to scare you, but because what I found reading that report, and some people kind of dispute it, is what caused those projects to fail. And so I wanted to start there. There's really 3 points of failure. One is focused application. So generally, these companies just rolled out a tool like Copilot or maybe Enterprise GPT and didn't have a focused application. Today, we're going to look at the focused application of contracting. So that's already 1 point pointing towards success in your favor. Second, they didn't use specialized tools. Again, they were rolling out Copilot or, ChatGPT Enterprise or just any of the other broad purpose tools. And for those in specialized areas, they need specialized tools. So I work for Wordsmith AI, which is a specialized legal tool. I also use ChatGPT and Claude and Perplexity, but for all my legal work, I really truly believe that you need a specialized legal tool, especially when it comes to contracting, and I'll explain that later. Lastly, it's education and training, which is something I am very passionate about. I'm head of the Wordsmith Academy, which is a free resource that teaches in-house teams primarily, but we also welcome law firms, how to use AI. So practically, how do we use AI? So that is something that you'll also get a link to later on. But now I want to jump over into Slido, and I'd love for you to participate. So you can scan the QR code or join at slido.com, enter that number. And how often are you using um, AI tools in your daily work? Um, Hold on one sec. Let me make sure that we are going into the right place. There we go. Okay. Can you see that? Now let me see. Let me make sure screen sharing is correct. Yes. Okay, cool. So we have 4 people that responded, but I know there are more than 4 people on the call right now. So I just want to get an idea. How often are you using AI tools for contracting? Um, that can vary. So daily, we've got 55% using it daily. We've got hourly. Some have never used it, so that's great. So we're going to try to set the foundation here. So then we can go with people who've never used it, and also those people who are using it daily. How can they improve? So we're going to kind of go on a journey today together. So feel free to keep answering that one. I'm going to jump into the next question. It looks like right now the majority of people are weekly, and daily with a small percentage um, in never. So then the next poll is this is just free association. What AI tools have you used for contracting? And so write in the name of the tool, whether it happens to be Wordsmith or any other of the contracting tools available. You might be using ChatGPT. You might be using Claude. What tools are you using? All right, we see some Wordsmith in there. That's always great. Okay, and Claude, Copilot. Definitely a lot of companies have access to Copilot. And if you know anything or you follow me at all on LinkedIn, you know I have strong feelings about Copilot. We don't need to get into that now. Paxton, Notebook, Perplexity, Gemini, Tilder. Is that like Tilder? That sounds sort of Danish. I live in Denmark. Um, cool. So I'm going to let you keep, you can add some more there. And then lastly, I want to know how often, or sorry, how comfortable are you with writing prompts for contracting? Are you very comfortable, somewhat comfortable, not very comfortable at all? So I'd like to get them. Sorry, I keep looking over there. I've got multiple screens set up here, so I'm just looking at the Slido right there because it's too small over here. So we have a lot of people that are very comfortable. That's awesome. I just have to say, whenever I do this, the results always make me impressed with the legal profession because a lot of people say that we're not adopting and we're slow to change, but I am seeing a growing number of people who are using AI all the time and they're very comfortable with it. So here you can see we've got people who are somewhat comfortable and then underneath that is very comfortable. So again, a lot of you are using AI tools. So thank you so much for filling that out and feel free to keep filling it out. We'll be using that information later, but I am going to jump back into my presentation. So I want you to know that AI won't replace lawyers, but it will change how legal work is done. And that's what we're going to be focusing on today. And so, quickly, whoa, sorry, I just hit the wrong button. Bear with me for 1 second so we can get this back up and running. Um, this is what happens when you have technical issues. All right, so um, we're going to focus on how your work is going to change. And I am now going to do something. Sorry about this. We now will go to the next one. So, why do you care and how will your work change? I'm just going to do this the old-fashioned way and move the screen so then I can also look at you. So, we have two customers. One of them uses our contracting tool and they cut vendor agreement processing time by 50%. Another was able to review 50 contracts in just 20 minutes. So these are some of the stats that show the impact that AI is having in changing how we work. Quickly, who am I? I am a California licensed attorney living in Denmark. 12 of the last 15 years I've spent working in-house, so I consider myself an in-house lawyer first and foremost and love helping in-house teams. I also help law firms as well. I've been teaching AI since 2023 when I really started talking about how I was using AI as general counsel and then started teaching it to law firms. So it's been really fascinating to see that evolution. Now, today our objectives are going to move from concepts to practice. So if you are lost at any time, you can always go back to a previous session that we had today where we laid the groundwork for this session. We also want to understand where AI adds value across complexity levels and want to learn how to operationalize AI within your workflows. Someone asked this question, but you will get the slide deck. I do my slides in Canva and you can get them so then you'll be able to watch the videos in it as well. We have a great online prompting guide that is free. We'll give that link to you as well. Again, the Academy, which has lots of great resources, upcoming events, weekly office hours. You can join that and join for free. Even though it's the Wordsmith Academy, you can come and talk to us about any of your AI questions. And then lastly, if you'd like to download the product, we also have that information. So I'm going to begin first about knowing your tools, understanding their capabilities and limitations. Now, we mentioned this in the beginning, but or in the session earlier, but I want to reiterate what that is. So we have broad purpose AI tools like ChatGPT, Microsoft, and Copilot. Then we have legal specific tools like Wordsmith that are made for lawyers and how they work. And you are going to get better results when you're doing legal work with these legal specific tools. In the beginning, when I first joined the company, I wasn't sure if that was true, but now I am convinced of it. And so I'd like to show you some of that today. Now, it's important when you go out and look at AI tools that you know what problem that you're solving. When we say AI and contracting, are we talking about drafting? Are we talking about creating templates and filling out templates? Are we talking about using playbooks to review agreements or maybe creating playbooks? Are we talking about redlining and negotiation? Or maybe are we talking about operationalizing some processes, maybe contract intake, or maybe letting the business self-serve by automating NDAs. All right, so there's a whole span of functions when we talk about contracting, and I want to go over those. So before you go out to a tool, or even if you're using your tool and you want to pick the features or functionality that it has, make sure that you know what problem you're trying to solve. That's going to save a lot of painful missteps. So I like to think of the AI funnel. This is how creative AI is, and then we put things on top of it to harness its power, but make it less creative and less prone to hallucinations. So now I've created this image in Claude, and I have a link to it so you can go see it as well, and you can repurpose this if you want to. So at the top here, we've got broad purpose AI, where it's extremely creative. You're using it in the chat. The constraints you're giving it are in your prompt. Then when we go to legal specific tools, it's going to be less creative and there's going to be more constraints that are built into the back end. And they're grounding the answers in legal intelligence to prevent hallucinations. So you will notice if you ask the same question of a broad purpose tool versus a legal specific tool, the answer should be different. And lastly, when we get to playbooks and reviews, so that's redlining, that is going to be where you're going to have the least amount of creativity, the least amount of room for the AI to hallucinate, because you're really putting in a lot of restraints and limitations on it to make it more deterministic rather than probabilistic. So that's kind of how I like to think about, how creative, how much AI can hallucinate, and how we are whittling that down. So just a reset for everyone. When AI is working, and this is generative AI, because AI is a big umbrella term, if AI is writing the house is, and it needs to fill in the next blank, it's going to predict what words are going to come next. Maybe it's going to make a list like red, brand new, dilapidated, white, on. So it's got a list of all the probable, I guess we would say, words and or phrases or letters that are likely to come next. And then it's going to weight those. And it's not going to pick the one that's weighted most likely to come next. It's going to randomly pick one. So that's why AI can be very creative. It can hallucinate because you're not going to get the same answer every time. So sometimes lawyers are frustrated because that's not happening. So when you're using broad purpose tools, that is not being constrained in any way. Where if you're using a legal specific tool for contracting, they're really working to constrain that. So then it's not going to hallucinate. Now, it's really important since most of you are using AI, right? You need to give it context and conversation. If you only give it a little bit of information, it's not going to give you a great result. The more information you give it that is relevant, the better that it will do. And also it's meant to have a conversation. So you're building. You do not need to create the perfect first prompt, right? Have a conversation, go back and forth, and help AI revise the answer through communicating with it like you would a junior associate who just joined your firm or just joined your company, right? They're going to need more context about your business, about how you operate, all of those things that are in your head, you need to get out and give to the AI to make sure that you get an answer that you like from it. So this is not a great prompt, right? Review this agreement, you upload this agreement, there's zero context. So the AI is just going to assume what, you want. It doesn't know. But I have an asterisk there because if you do that in legal specific tools like Wordsmith, it actually will kickstart a review, even though you don't have context because it's built that way. But if you just say review this agreement in ChatGPT, Copilot, Gemini, you're going to get a nice summary. But I assume when you want to review an agreement, there's a purpose or a reason behind it. You need to give that to the AI. So what's a way that can help you do this? I know that you had some prompting earlier today, but it's really easy to do the task. What do you want the AI to do? What is AI's role? Do you want it to adopt a persona? Now, interestingly, some people will say, like, you are a general counsel of a Fortune 500 company. For in-house lawyers, some people have found that if you tell the AI you are a CEO of a Fortune 500 company, and give it all the legal context and use your legal reasoning, you get more business-friendly advice than if you ask it to adopt the persona of a general counsel. So play around with personas. It doesn't have to be that one that does that job. Then next, what is the goal, right? You want to summarize an agreement, but why do you want to summarize the agreement? Who are you summarizing it for? And then lastly, what's the format? Do you want it in a table? Do you want it in bullet points? What do you want to do? This is a really easy way to get started with prompting, especially when it relates to contracts. So what does this look like? Here is a better prompt where we have the task, we have the format and the goal. And here, the format, I want it to produce a table that has strike throughs for deletions and bolds for additions in this contract. So I'm going to show you what that looks like. First, we're going to see it in ChatGPT. So I've uploaded an agreement. I've given it that prompt that you saw, and you'll get this later so you can go back and look at it. So if we run that, you'll see that it's going to read those documents, and now it's giving me a table where it's highlighted the risks and then where changes should be made and then explaining why. Now it always asks, do you want me to create red lines for you? And from the beginning, I have been trying to get ChatGPT to do red lines, and it says it will, but when you click on it, you will see that it cannot. So this is what it produces. So if anyone can get ChatGPT to do red lines in their agreement besides just highlighting the words red, let me know, but I have not cracked that yet. So now what does this look like in a legal specific tool? We're using Wordsmith because that's what I have access to. Here's the exact same prompt that we saw before. And this is what it's going to look like in Wordsmith. I'm going to leave the writing style the exact same. So it works just like ChatGPT. And here we go. It's going through and giving me what it thinks that it should change. And then it's generating citations. So this is what makes our tool a little bit different than using ChatGPT. You can go and verify. So right now, we don't believe that you should rely on AI output. It needs human verification, and that's extremely important in the legal industry. So we enable citations. So you can always verify the answers where the AI is pulling it from, whether that's from a document. As you saw, we have that tab that you can read the document, or if it's pulling from the internet, we cite that. Now it's going in to kick this into our playbook. So it's applying a vendor agreement playbook to this. It's applying these 53 rules that we have, and it's going to redline that. So you can see this is the original agreement, and then it's loading the red lines based on a playbook that has 53 different rules in it. And so here you can see it's now redlined the agreement based on those rules there that you can see. And then we have a description of the rule and then the reasonings. Again, a human can check that, and we can approve the red lines, we can accept them, or we can dismiss them. So if you were going to try to create this in ChatGPT, you would have to have a huge, lengthy prompt, right? We have 53 different individual checks that are going on that you see, but in the background, we have our team of legal engineers who are building this to make sure that it works properly like it should. And here I've downloaded that document in a Word document, and then I've also opened the Wordsmith plugin. So then you could also work from Wordsmith just like you do in the web browser, also in Microsoft Word. Again, that's something that you can't with ChatGPT. So those are how, kind of contrasting what you can do. Like broad purpose tools are great, and they, I think, are great for negotiating and brainstorming and visualizations and helping you on smaller pieces. But for agreement, I would put those and trust legal specific AI because of all the legal intelligence and grounding that has been done in the background that's not being done with those broad purpose tools. So we talked about drafting before in the previous session, so go back and watch that one. I'm not going to cover that here. I want to go a little bit further. So now let's talk about playbooks. We saw that a playbook was all those rules were applied and then they generated red lines. So what's going on here? So this is our playbooks, and you can create a new playbook very easily. You can either handwrite, manually type in all the rules. And previously, I said that our CEO had decided that he wanted to create AI for dogs. So we're looking at the SaaS agreement. We drafted a SaaS agreement for our AI for dogs product. We've now uploaded it into our playbook creator, and the AI is reading our agreement and creating rules from that agreement. So then we can run those rules against either third-party paper, if someone for some reason wanted to use their SaaS paper, or if we get red lines back to our MSA for AI for dogs. Here, you can see that you've got a main position, you've got a rule title, a main position, a flag, severity, and then there's also fallbacks that you can use. So what does that look like? Here we've now created AI for dogs. And so we're just going to go in and pick one random rule to zoom in. So then you can see how we're writing these rules. So if we just go to force majeure, here's our main position that we're telling the AI this is our position. Then, if our main position isn't met in the agreement, here are the general instructions for the red lines. This is how I want you to redline it. And we're giving it references and examples, so that's really important. And then we have fallback positions and additional instructions where we can make comments or give additional guidance to the AI. So I'm showing you this because if you're not using a legal specific tool, you can still take the same general framework and apply it. So I wanted to show you what exactly that looked like. So if we were just going to zoom in on the force majeure protections, this is our description of our main position. So we say, this is our main position. This is the criteria that needs to be met. And if the criteria is not met, then here are our instructions for the red lines. And you can see we're giving the red lines a goal, an overall goal. What do we want to achieve? General instructions, and then we're giving it a reference clause. So this is a really good format for how you can leverage AI in contracting. Again, if you're using a broad purpose tool, you're going to have to build this out and run this yourself, where in a legal specific tool like Wordsmith, it'll help you do all of that. Now, if you already have a playbook, so we showed you how you can create a playbook from an existing agreement. If you already have a playbook, how do you make it ready for AI? So you've got a playbook. You need to think about the format. So AI, like you can use table formats, but at least make it very explicit what the clause is, what the issue is, what is your position, and what is your rationale. So again, we're needing to give more context to the AI to make sure that it's making the right decisions when it's applying the playbook. We also need to think about a modular design. So breaking down those complex decisions into actionable questions or actionable steps. And that's a theme that you'll see throughout prompting in AI. AI can get confused just like a person. So you really want to make sure that you're breaking everything down very simply, even things that may be obvious to you. Break that down so the AI doesn't get confused. Then make sure that you are very specific. Again, don't assume that AI will infer. You need to state them specifically because AI will make assumptions. And if you don't give it enough information, then it will make something up or assume something that is incorrect. Also, tell it exceptions. We need to know what the exceptions are and how you'd like the AI to treat those. So that's important. You also need to tell it dependencies and conditionality, right? There are a lot of interdependencies and agreements. Make sure you tell the AI how those agreements or how those clauses interact with one another. So if we change the limitation to liability, do we also need to change another clause? If we change the termination clause, is there another clause that is then impacted? And lastly, always include examples. So AI is really great at replicating. So if you want it to do something, give it examples. And the rule of thumb is somewhere, you can give it one example, but if you want it to be even better, you can give it somewhere between 3 to 5 examples. So this is a way that you can take your playbook and make it AI ready. And don't forget when you are testing these, and this is for both Wordsmith and other tools, you need to test and iterate. And that's something that lawyers seem to be struggling with, right? We seek perfection. And working with AI, especially generative AI, there really is not perfection. We can get it to where we want it, to where it'll help us, but to get it to where it needs to go, you definitely need to test and iterate. And that's where prompting skills that was in the previous session would really come in. How do we create prompts that help us achieve these goals? So now we're going to look quickly at some redlining and negotiations with AI. So here is an example. Again, in Wordsmith, I am going to upload our AI for Dogs SaaS agreement and say, review this with the standard SaaS agreement playbook, which you saw we created earlier. So I don't even have to go into reviews. I can just go into the chat feature in Wordsmith and say, do this. We always like to give you an overview. So you'll get a high level overview of the agreement. We've pulled out what we think is most important for lawyers. Our legal engineering team, which is made up of lawyers from law firms, legal operations professionals, and general counsel, are working on this in the back end. So now, again, we're applying those rules and we're checking to see if our AI for dog SaaS agreement that we used AI to generate now meets our standard SaaS agreement terms. It's actually, you can see it caught some different things. So there's nothing red standing out. There are some minor issues that it has flagged. So even though AI has created this, I'm now using AI to check AI's work. And that sometimes seems a little odd to people, but that's the beauty of AI. You can use AI to check AI's work. You can also use AI to help you improve your prompts. And I'll show you an example of that coming up in a second here when we talk about workspaces. So now this is a redlined agreement. So, or it's a redlined agreement. And I love this example. It's making an issues list from a redlined agreement. So you just got a redlined agreement and someone wants you to respond quickly to it. So you drop it in Wordsmith and say, hey, I need a table because I need to go into this negotiation. I need to know the clause number, what is going on, and then the summary of the changes, plus some space for notes. And this is where citations come in handy because you can have this open on your computer. And when you're talking about, clause 2D, then I just get to click into it and I can actually read the summary of the changes. I can also see it visually. And then I can go in and check the actual language and what it looks like in the agreement with the citations. So let's say we're looking at payment terms. We've discussed payment terms. We agreed it's fine. So now in the notes section here, while I'm talking and chatting and we're negotiating, I'm just going to say, hey, add on the notes section that we've accepted this. So then you can see there it's accepted. So at the end of the call, I will be able to quickly scan and see what I need to do. And then I can ask AI to make additional changes. So that is a really great way to use AI in negotiations, create an issues table, and then as you're going through, you can add notes to it at the end. You have this table that is very explanatory, what you've agreed to, and then you can apply those changes. That's one of my favorites. Now we're going to jump into some operational aspects. So this is using workspaces, and workspaces is like custom GPTs or ChatGPT projects or Claude projects. They're basically AI assistants. Some people may call them agents, depending on the definition, but we're not going to go down that rabbit hole right now. One of our customers created a contract negotiator workspace. So what is this? This is the sales team comes in to Wordsmith and they have an agreement from a customer that has changes in it. And they want to know if they can accept the changes that the customer has requested. So the sales team uploads the agreement. And this is actually done through Slack because this team works in Slack. So the sales team just goes to Slack, uploads the agreement, sends it off to Wordsmith, and Wordsmith goes to this workspace. And what they get back is a summary of the changes, the implications, and now those are for internal purposes. And that's to teach the sales team. So not only are we empowering the sales team to not bother legal with this, but we're also teaching them. So then they can speak to why these changes can or cannot be accepted. And then lastly, we need to have some safety rails in there, especially for a sales team. We tell the sales team, now this is what you actually say to the customer. The above explanations are for you, but this is what you should tell the customer about why we can or cannot change this. So it significantly reduced legal bottlenecks for their standard MSA. And it was empowering the salespeople, but also when new people join the legal team, it helped to educate them as well. So now you're using this tool for the sales team and also for the legal team, and you're educating everyone and also empowering people. And as in-house counsel, I love to get things off of my plate and empower other teams so that legal is not the bottleneck. And so what does this look like? This is what a workspace is. the two main components of it are custom instructions, which I'll show you, and knowledge, and that's your sources. And so you have your custom instructions and your knowledge, and that's a persistent context that is always maintained when you're chatting. And again, this is also available in other tools, but this is what it looks like in Wordsmith. So like we said, here are custom instructions. Again, we start with a goal and then explain, and then the answer format. You want this overview, summary, implications, and what do you say to the customer? Then the sales team comes and says, this is a red line received from a customer. Can you let me know what we can accept and what we need to change? And so just like the chats we've seen before, it's going here, and it's gonna, there were extensive changes here. So it's going through and saying, hey, here are all the changes, and this is the response that you need to give to the customer. Again, we have these citations so that anyone can go back and look at that. And so that is a really, great way that you can use it. Again, we're sharing this with you. I hate slides that look like this, but these are the modified custom instructions. I want to provide this to you so you can have a look, and you can use this in ways that are helpful for you. This is an example of the playbook that they uploaded. So if you go back, you'll notice that there's only two documents that they've uploaded. Their general terms of use and a sample contract negotiation playbook. So they've uploaded their template, they've given it the custom instructions, and then they have this playbook example, which was very similar to this, where they take the contract section, say whether they can negotiate it or not, why, what are the interests at play, and then why we can't or can negotiate this provision. And that is more for the customer facing explanation. Now, another one, now this diverges a little bit from contracting, but I just want to show you the depth and breadth and power of AI. And so here we have a data protection impact assessment generator. The same can be done with NDAs, MSAs, any of these frameworks or templates can be applied in any way. So what is this? This provides a DPIA that complies with specific jurisdictions based on the company's privacy policy and some of the company's additional policies. So why did we create this? Because it took a whole bunch of manual work and back and forth between product teams and HR off legal's desk, and then also provides a stronger defense for regulators. And again, you can use this and this model this also for contracting. So what I've done here is I want to have a DPI completed when I upload something. In this case, it's going to be notes. I took notes from a product, one of the product people about something new that's coming out. I'm going to upload the notes. I'll get out DPIA and then also an assessment as to whether the DPIA is strong in the UK, EU, and under California law, because those are places where we operate. Again, you could also do this with contracts and check multiple jurisdictions at once. And you can see here are the files that we've uploaded. So if we're going to do this, we've got that. Here are sources that we can add. So you can also directly connect sources to our workspaces. So anytime a document is uploaded or changed in Google Drive or SharePoint, it automatically pulls the changes through. So now I'm uploading my call notes that I had with the product person. And I just say, please generate DPA. Because of my extensive custom instructions here, I don't have to tell it a lot in the chat. It already knows what to do. And so here you can see we have it filling out the data protection impact assessment based on the template that I gave it. So it's not just making that up, it's looking at the template, looking at my note and filling that out for me, and then giving me some recommendations, making sure that I have sign off on this. So it's like, I've drafted this for you, but you have to do a few more things. And then it's also assessing strengths and weaknesses under the 3 different jurisdictions that we've asked it to. And then here I could go back and make changes. And so that took, hardly any time. So this is the power of these workspaces or custom GPTs or assistants. And you can use this also for intake. That's where they get a little bit more complicated, and you can integrate it with other systems. You can also do this for horizon scanning. Really, again, another reason I love AI is because your imagination, right, is what would limit this. It's how can we use AI to build something that solves my problems, my workflow, and how my team works. So here again are the custom instructions. So then you can see how that was drafted to get that result, plus then the knowledge that was also uploaded. Again, you can use this for inspiration. Now, I wanted to quickly address hallucinations. I know we have a couple minutes left, but this might seem simple, but for hallucinations, always start with the source. So give it the agreement or give it the link, right? If you want it to make something up or go find something, it might be more likely to hallucinate. If you want it to highlight uncertainty, if you want a flag where it may make things up or make assumptions or where there might be bias built in, then ask it to do that. Then lastly, another hallucination prevention, which is also, I think, complementary and great for negotiating contracts, instead of say, interpret this clause, say, give me 3 possible interpretations of this clause under New York law. So you're asking it to widen it, to use its creativity to see if there are different interpretations. This helps you catch hallucinations, it helps you look at bias, but then it also, I think, helps make you a better lawyer. Whenever I do this, there's always interpretations that are plausible that I didn't think of. And then lastly, when you're writing these long custom instructions to focus the AI, you'll see that we're using caps and we're also penalizing it. So in the beginning, we didn't know to focus the AI whether we should penalize it or we should reward it. So we did both. And this is based on machine learning training, why it understands this. And what we found, if you write in all caps and say that you'll penalize it, you'll take points away, sort of things of that vein, it will actually focus on that piece of information. So if, say, ambiguities are the most important in your lengthy prompt, if you say you must highlight all ambiguities or you will be penalized, so review carefully, that's going to focus the AI on the ambiguities, and then it'll know that that's more important than some of the other pieces in the prompt. Also, repetition we found. Don't be shy about repeating instructions like you would for a child. That again helps the AI understand what's important. And I'll stop there because we have about 5 minutes. I want to see if there are any questions. And I know that I see some in the chat and no one can talk. That's correct, right? I don't know what the best way is to handle questions at the moment. I see someone has raised their hand.
Probably the best way would be if, guys, if you've got any questions, I know we do, as you say, Laura, have some in the chat, but if you've got any questions, just type them now so Laura can see them very quickly. I think we've got one from Vandy there. I don't know if you can see that one, Laura. It's
Yes, I can. And while we're doing that, while people are also typing, because I have messed up there we go. I am going to just move this forward and go right here. So this is the Wordsmith Academy, and I'll leave that there. You can QR code it. So yeah, the last one. I wonder if business teams have access to AI tools for contracting purposes. They may not be able to discern when they need to turn to their counsel for confirming output or advice. Does it come down to internal policies and training about the usage of AI tools, or is there some reminder? So that's an excellent question, and we actually build that into the custom instructions. Later this week, I'm going to do some more recordings on this topic and put them into the academy, and I'll show you how we write instructions. So we will tell the AI will do an assessment of, let's say, the contract. And so this example that I'm thinking of is low value contracts. You have your policies in your company about low value contracts. You only want to review them, let's say, in cases of, I don't know, like IP or personally identifiable information being involved, because for your business, that's high risk. It's going to review all of those agreements. Ones that don't contain any of that, it's going to tell the business people, ignore those, you don't need to. But ones that do contain personally identifiable information or intellectual property, let's say sharing, it'll then tell the user, you need to have this reviewed by legal. And you can put whatever kind of wording you want in there to put your employees on notice that if they don't get legal review, right, they're taking on that risk or something like that. I don't know how your company handles it, but you can make it so in the instructions we'll tell them, you cannot pass go. You cannot go any further. You need to go to the legal team, and this is how you contact the legal team. So that's definitely a good question. And then I think someone answered that. I'm just looking to see if there are additional tools. Oh, someone asked what data had been used to train Wordsmith, and is it actively using data sources to stay relevant? And so Wordsmith is built on top of a variety of large language models. So depending on your query, we will send it to the large language model that handles that request best. For example, we found Claude is really good at drafting, and I think most people in the legal community agree with that. So if you're asking Wordsmith to draft something, it goes through our layers of legal intelligence, and we have some special engineering magic, but then we send it to Claude. Claude processes it and sends it back to you, and it's connected to the internet, so it stays as up to date as it has internet access, and then also the large language models. So that is not an issue. So I'll come here. We had the Wordsmith Academy. And then also, if you are interested in learning more about Wordsmith and how it can help you and your team, please use this QR code or visit wordsmith.ai. You can check out some of our customers, additional resources, and learn more about the tool there. And please, if you have any questions, I'd love to talk about AI. I often come and talk to teams about how they can use AI. So you can send me an email at laura@wordsmith.ai or connect with me on LinkedIn. You have my name there and also the QR code. Join me tomorrow for office hours as well. If you go to the Academy, anyone can drop by for AI office hours on Wednesdays, and we just chat about AI and answer questions together. So it's been really fun, and thank you so much for having me. Hopefully you've had some useful information and practical tips that you can take away and implement right after this session.
Laura, you have this incredible ability to just be so engaging and like to be so clear when it comes to explaining AI in such a simple way. So I can only imagine your academy is super, super helpful. And I've joined myself, so I'd recommend guys for you to join. It's obviously super helpful, beneficial. And I love the idea that you have these sessions where you can drop in and ask about AI. That's amazing. The office hours.
Yeah, it's fun. And we have, we talk about all different things and we share and show tools. So if you have something you want to share with us, we want to hear about that too. So that's the great part.
That's amazing. I'd recommend people to join it. As I say, I've joined myself. I'm going through the videos. I didn't tell you that, Laura.
Thank you.
Someone's asked, where can the link to the office hours be found? I guess you join the academy, right?
Yeah, so you can I'm going to put it in there. You can if you just go to academy.wordsmith.ai, you just need to use your work email address. If for some reason you are unemployed or in between jobs, just send me an email at laura@wordsmith.ai, and then I can take care of that for you. But we just have to we have some, security policies where we need work email addresses to join, and there's my email as well. Access is free and forever, as long as it's there. And the more people that go to it and use it, the longer that it will stay around. So please check out the Academy. If you want to have certain content, also let me know. Reach out to me and tell me what you want to see. So thank you so much.